Everybody, Spellman here, and it's the Independent POV podcast. And I have a guest here today. Her name is Becca.
Yeah, Rebecca
How you doing?
Billingsley. Hi.
Sleepy?
I'm sorry?
um,
I didn't hear you.
I said, how you doing? How's
Oh, good. Everything's
everything?
good. Good. Everything's good. Hopefully my connection,
Cool.
I'm on my computer and everything looks good. So hopefully everything works well. so, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good. I'm good. My daughter just came back from her school trip, and so this worked out really well because I literally just dropped her off and came home and logged on. So perfect timing.
Okay. And
Hmm.
we met on Facebook. We both on that Kevin Samuels, well, one of his hundreds of I guess his groups, and
Yes.
there was a discussion on one of his groups that I so happened stumbled upon, and it said some women really believe that women can compete. We can say a lot of things about the black woman, but the most beautiful women in the world are black. Nothing in the world like a beautiful natural black woman. That's facts. And she had a picture of both a white woman and a black woman, both beautiful in my opinion.
Hmm. Hmm.
These are above maybe like a 9 and 10 ranking area. And you said something in response saying it's not the looks, it's behavior. Would you expand on that?
Well, basically, what I'm hearing from black men anyway, from listening to Kevin Samuels and then also watching the different social media groups and just comments I see out here. Black men don't have an issue so much with black women's looks, maybe
Mhm.
at a small level, but it's more so the attitude that black women are exhibiting towards black men now that black men are having issue with because they feel like black women are being uncooperative and um, masculine and things like that. And so I was making that point in the group because the woman who posted those pictures, she was going based solely on looks, and it's not just looks, it's behavior also. And so if a person looks good but acts like a jerk or an a-hole or whatever, no one wants to be bothered with that. They don't care how good looking you are. And so that was the point that I was trying to make, because that's what black men are saying. They're complaining about the attitudes that they're receiving from black women. So
Right.
mhm.
So should black women compete?
I mean, black women should compete as much as they compete with each other. I think the thing is, though, you have to pay attention to what. I guess this is my thing, and this is where I sit. If women want men, I
Hmm.
mean, we're talking heterosexual, because I think a lot of this needs to be a little bit delineated at this point. If a heterosexual woman wants a heterosexual man, then a heterosexual woman should listen to what the heterosexual man is saying in terms of how he feels and how he's receiving energy from her, and vice versa. I'm not saying that to say that it's one-sided. Men and women need to listen to each other, to understand the needs and desires that each other has for relationships, and to like totally ignore one side, or what do you call it? Like totally disrespect one side or disregard a person's feelings. Like that's the start of a relationship. So if a man tells you, "Hey, you're being a little too whatever," and women get mad about that, why are you getting mad? And then, because if you say something to him about how he's acting, you would expect him to have a reaction of, okay, well, sorry, or, try to fix that, or let's talk about it, or whatever. But I feel like women are very one sided with this stuff, and they just want what they want, however they want it, and they want men to just deal with it. And
Yeah,
then men are
yeah,
just supposed to deal with it until, like the whole thing about I'll get married when I'm ready to get married, as though men are just going to be there waiting for women to marry them. And that's not how it works. It's never worked that way in the heterosexual world. And I say that because none of that has changed, but I feel like women with feminism, at some level, feel like they can just do whatever, however, whenever. And to a large extent, that's true. I think the old marriages of back in the day, because, we've all heard of those marriages where, the husband didn't let the wife do anything. She was just at home, barefoot pregnant, that kind of stuff. Those old school marriages should actually stop. Like, no one should be in that position. But at the same token, in a marriage, there's like a dance, a give and take in relationships. And so if women are coming in with, I have my degree, the stuff that Kevin Samuels used to always say, I got a PhD and stuff like that. If you're coming in with all that energy, you're not even giving the man room to be a man. You literally aren't.
right.
Yeah. So, and I think that's the biggest issue. It seems like the biggest issue that men seem to have, um, from what I can tell. Not being a man, maybe
Okay.
there's something I'm missing. I don't know, but
Yeah, and also like with the whole just the idea of where uh like because in the comments like she was just going off, especially when it came to behavior. I mean, there was something not connecting with like men, where men are just like, yeah, I mean, those two pictures say two gorgeous women, and man
right,
just like, we just want a woman to be sane, you know what I'm saying, with
right.
that person. But yeah, she
Hmm.
still's like, well, look at her, she's gorgeous. Yeah, but is she a stable minded individual?
Right,
You know?
exactly. Hmm. Exactly.
And it's like, how could you not, what I'm saying, understand that point when men are want this? Because I'm looking at it where, because beauty fades. I mean, we as
Right.
human beings are going to get old no matter what. We can't stop that. I mean, we just
Well,
can't.
yes. I'm 57, so you're absolutely right. Yes,
So
I'm not a baby, so yes. Hmm.
yeah, I mean, indeed, I should think people should take care of themselves as
Right.
we age, but like, we're not gonna look the same 30, 20 years ago.
No,
Like,
that's the thing. No, not at all. I can attest to that. And you want to, and I have a 21-year-old daughter, who is just coming into her own, graduating from college and all that. And so I'm trying to give her wisdom and let her, or help her, I should say, help her navigate her prime, as I call it, or it used to be called, to the best of her ability. Because, when I was in my 20s, I'm trying to think, I graduated from college in 88, got married in 91. And I was
right,
27, and my ex-husband was 26. And so after I graduated and got my degree, my mother was like, okay, time for a husband. It was never the thought of, well, get married whenever you want, and it'll just come when it comes, and you know it'll be there when you're ready, because that's not true. And Kevin
right.
Samuel's show showed
Yeah,
that. There were
yeah,
several women that came on there who were distraught
yeah,
because they
yeah,
waited too long to try to be marriage minded, because they were too busy doing other things, thinking, oh, marriage will come whenever. But if you're trying to marry someone, then you have to kind of go with a program regarding that. And you can do both simultaneously. Like I worked full time, and I was married, and we had our house, we had our children. We were married 19 years, but I had a whole career, if you will. Like, it wasn't a career I planned to have, but ultimately it ended up being my career. And then my husband worked, and I don't understand why people think that's so hard to do.
Right.
To focus on your career, but then focus on finding a partner at the same time. You could literally do it simultaneously. And I feel like women are being geared towards doing it linearly, like a straight line, like, versus
Yeah.
parallel. Like, here's
Yeah.
my
Cause
work life and here's my personal life, and I'm dealing with them both kind of at the same time versus a
yeah.
linear line, which is why I think a lot of women, it sounds like women are thinking that way, and that's not how men work. So if you
Right.
want to marry a man, you can't wait until you're ready, because he's not going to wait for you. He's going to marry who is available.
Yeah.
You're not the only woman.
Yeah.
So he gonna marry who's around him at the point he's ready. And if you like, oh, I'm not ready, then when you are ready, there may not be anybody there,
Right.
because
Right.
men have options to go younger or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and so at this age, for me, I have a full understanding of that, and I accept that. I'm not out here trying to compete with younger women. That's another whole conversation by itself.
Yeah. You
Um,
see that older women competing with younger women.
yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Apparently, that's the thing. Pardon me. Apparently, that's the thing for per Kevin Samuels too, because that's something that came out while I was watching all of his shows. I'm like, I did not know women were sabotaging young women. I did not know older women were sabotaging young women. That's really sad.
Yeah.
And I would never do that to my 21-year-old. If anything, she's like my baby doll,
Right.
And when I say that, because that may sound crazy too, but what I mean is, like, she's young, she's very attractive, nice shape and everything. I want her to look as beautiful as possible and carry herself as nicely as possible. And I try to give her tips and pointers and talk to her and everything, so that as she navigates all of this stuff, she's being as smart as she can be. And I think anything else is just kind of, sadistic in a way, because, like you said, we all get older, and if a younger man wants a younger woman, there's nothing wrong with that. you
Right.
know yeah, I mean, if whatever a man wants, he has the right for his preferences, I guess, is really my point. And women don't, if you're not the preference of the man, then he's not going to select you. And I don't think women like that part. They don't like hearing that. They like being in
Right.
control of everything, because
Yeah.
feminism has made women want to control every aspect of their life. Marriage is not it. Now, if you're in the LGBTQ community, then sure, that's a whole different set of circumstances, and
Yeah.
I'm not even speaking to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's fine, because they have the right to be married too, and that's the whole, however that works in that world. That's what that's how they move. But in heterosexual world, a man asks a woman to marry him, and
Right.
so women get upset about that. Like, I think you've seen it in the group where women have talked about how many proposals they've turned down.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, a marriage proposal does not equate to marriage. You're still
Yeah.
single.
Yeah.
you
Pretty
know,
much.
and I don't understand that logic, because I'm thinking, okay, so you got to ask how many more times you think it's going to happen to you. Eventually, you're going to stop being asked,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the man's going to find other, there's always a new group of younger women coming up behind. Like, my
Yeah.
daughter's, like I said, she's 21. So she, at this point, can compete with anybody 40 and, up to age 40, I would say.
Right.
Okay. And she looks 21. Okay. She doesn't
Right.
look like she's older or whatever. So if a man wants a younger woman, and he has my daughter and he has a 40-year-old, he's going to go with my daughter. And the 40-year-old
Right.
may not like that, but that's the
Right.
reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm just kind of giving my viewpoint about this, but obviously this is your podcast, so I will remove and let you go forward.
Um, what up?
Sorry.
Like, also, this question said from Kevin Samuel. She says, white women go to college to find a husband, black
Hmm.
women go to college to learn how to live without one. What's your response with that?
Oh, I totally believe that. Although I was told when I was in college to find a husband while I was there, and I was actually engaged when I was in college, but we broke up.
Oh,
Yeah. I the women that were around me, because I'm a baby, I'm like the last of the baby boomers.
okay.
So I was born in 64. So the women who were older than me when I was in my 20s were still talking to me about marriage. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
one of my I used to work part-time for the government, and one of the women that worked there with me, I was like 18, 19, she was like 27, 28, white woman. And she told me that. She's like, once you get out here, it's much harder. So she said, if you find somebody in school, that's a really good option for you as well. Not to say you have to, but be on the lookout. And so I did meet a young man, and we were together 2.5 years, as I recall, and we were engaged for a year and a half, I think. And then, we were young, and it didn't work out. So we broke up. But and then a couple years later, I met my husband and married him, my ex-husband, and married him. But yeah, I was totally given that advice to find a husband in college. And I think women younger than me, like Gen X and millennials, were given a different message. And see, I don't have, my child is a Gen Z, my 21-year-old. So I'm going old school and bypassing whatever Gen X and millennials were told. And I'm
Right,
going old school with my Gen Z daughter to basically tell her the same thing I was told when I was in my 20s.
right. And you were
Because the
told by
millennials, hmm?
and you were told by a Caucasian woman, so that was interesting. So no black woman came to you and said the same thing, or
Oh
were
no,
they
my mom
just
did. Oh no. My mom, no, I'm just
okay?
saying no, my
Okay,
mom did. Other people, everybody was like, okay, so yeah, it was always those questions. You got a
yeah,
boyfriend, you engaged, when you getting married,
yeah,
you married now, when you gonna have your first kid? Okay, you had your first kid, when you gonna have your second kid? You know, there was a society back then. And I think at some level, Gen Z and millennials pushed back from that, but I think they pushed too far back because
right.
the misandry that I see with younger women is crazy to me on social media. I'm like, do y'all have brothers or cousins or male like fathers? Do you have any men in your life that are outside of a sexual relationship that you have like a family relationship with? Because it sounds like you don't like men at all at any point. And that's why I'm like, are you lesbian or are you straight? Because if you're straight, the
uh,
misandry you have is a little much. Because I could tell you from where I sit, if I was a man listening to all this stuff, I wouldn't want to deal with you either.
right.
Like if black men, because I know that black men have comments about black women, but I've known enough black men in my life, and even now, that I know that like us as people, not just even a relationship, but just as people, that I know that what I hear from black men complaining about black women, it's not all black men. Okay. And so I'm sure that all women don't sit in misandry where black men are concerned. This is what I see on social media, and especially in this group that we're in. It
Right.
just seems like it's over the top in a way, you know.
Also, what do you think about Shannon Sharp about with LeBron James' son at the high school?
Oh,
Like he had the Becky, everybody was flipping out. All the women, black women, was like, "What's this?" Little LeBron, like, "What's going on?"
right.
I'm like, "It's high
Well,
school," you know what
right.
I'm saying?
Well, yeah. But the one thing I will say about and this is just based on the group. Okay, so this is not me talking about black women in general, because I would never do that. But based on our Facebook group, okay, there's a level of hypocrisy in that group because for women to be all upset about LeBron James' son, but then Lori Harvey drops Michael B. Jordan for Jack Harlow and they're fine with that. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm a little confused
Yeah.
by these opposing reactions when it's flipped. Like, if you have the
Right.
issue, you have the issue. It does not matter whether it's a black man with a white woman or a black woman with a white man.
Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
like,
So
yeah.
I find that so that's what I'm saying. I feel like like one thing that Kevin Samuel said that I will never forget, and I see it in this group, is that black women and black men are like becoming separate entities.
Okay.
And um like no other group of people, like if you look at Asians or Asian people, Latino or Hispanic people, white people to a good extent, you don't see the men and women like so far apart from each other.
Right.
There may be issues, but not
Yeah.
to the level where it's like, woo, we're like on two, like most of them are in the same library. Like I said, people be on the same, when they say you're on the same page. Okay, so
Yeah.
most of those groups of people are in the same library at least. Okay, for black men and women, it feels like we own library on this side of town, and then the other group is on a library on the other side of town.
Yeah.
We ain't together at all,
At
and it's
all.
very weird to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Mm-hmm. It's very weird. Yeah, I'm not used to
And
that.
yeah, and then the whole idea of like we have to expand the black family conversations. We get
Yeah,
like, what I'm saying? Like, oh, we gotta, stick together, but like it takes two to make a community. We
right.
need black on black, but we can't be just separating ourselves when it comes to
Exactly.
that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Exactly.
you get this whole yes queen from people that date out. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like you see it where it's like the black woman, she would get praised and almost like worship when she find her a white man. You know what I'm saying? It's like yes, queen, girl, you're a
Mm-hmm.
goddess, da da da. Da. As
Mm-hmm.
soon as black man get white girls, they be like, yo, they be ready to
Mm-hmm.
kill him, almost hang him if they try to. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he hates black people. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, he found somebody that like him. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He
Mm-hmm.
just happens to be black.
Right. Right.
She's
No, I agree.
either white, Puerto Rican, from a different country or completely, and that
Mm-hmm.
she found him and then was able to compete for his heart and she won. So I'm like,
Right.
you know what I'm
Right.
saying? You can't hate the player, you gotta hate the game. You gotta hate the
Right.
game, people.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Game is
No, I
what it
agree with
is.
that.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that. Mm-hmm.
And I think
I totally agree with that.
it should be able to compete, like because now it's like, do black women want Obama or Tupac, or do they want a combination of both? Which explain to me like that.
I Well, I'm going to give you my little quick experience with all this. So my ex-husband's from Lebanon. Okay. Um, so I will say that. I mean, because it's a fact. So that's not anything I'm making up. And so when I married him in '91, I got a lot of people. Oh my God, he is fine, girl. High fiving, all of that. Okay, like what you were talking about with how black women, if they see a black woman with a white man, how they, the whole
Right.
reaction. Like I lived that to a point where I found it weird because I didn't marry my ex husband because I don't like black men. Like, oh my
Right.
God, like that was not my reason for marrying my ex-husband. So I didn't sit in hatred of black men being married to him. I just married him
Right.
because I liked him too. I loved him too. You know what I mean? Like, I
Right.
didn't like keep myself in just the space of a black man. And to be honest, with the time that I was at that age, the black men that I liked and like me at that point were married that I kept running into, and the men who I liked who were single didn't like me. They were going after white women. So
Okay.
I kind of expanded myself, and then I ended up meeting my husband, me, my ex-husband. And so, but it was never about the hatred of black men. And I think some black men assume that seeing
Okay.
us in public, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like if we went to a restaurant, we went out to go grocery shopping and stuff like that. I think some black men had that feeling like, oh, she doesn't like black men, she's a divester, whatever they call that now,
Right.
women who divest. And so it was never about me divesting from the
Right.
community, it was just that's who my husband is. And so now, fast forward, I see so much of this divesting mindset with these generations. I'm trying to understand what they were told,
Right.
to be like, what were y'all taught at home?
Right.
Because even like I say, even though my husband was from Lebanon, I had a whole black daddy that I love dearly. I got two brothers. Well, one passed away, but I had two brothers. I have one now; he's still alive. I have cousins. I have a nephew that I love dearly. So it's never been anti-black man. So I don't understand why women are out here with this anti-black man ideology as well, because I've seen that in the group also. And so it may go to some of the stats about who's raising them. Like a lot of single mothers are raising, like a lot of these women are being raised by single mothers and they didn't have husbands and stuff like that. I don't know. Or maybe it's something else. I don't know. But I just find it, when you think about the black family and the future of the black family, it's highly problematic for a nuclear family for us to be this far apart from each other. Like
Right.
I don't even know how you fix it because there's too much finger pointing going back and forth.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And also with these, I guess celebrity breakups that
Yeah.
us normal people try to attach this, to, which is kind of weird for me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they black, what, but I don't know these people.
Right.
That's
Mm-hmm.
why what I feel about them. And then like you got the Lori Harveys, and you got the Megan Good
Right.
breakup,
Right.
and you see a lot of sisters defending them for their breakups. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it was always he, him,
As if
he,
they
him.
did nothing wrong. Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
like you don't even
Mm-hmm.
know people, and when you see the guy giving him a chance to explain his side of the story, it's
Mm-hmm.
like we don't want to hear it. You lying. And it's
Right.
like I'm like, for one, we don't know these people, and two, it's like there's two people dating, not one person
Right.
that's dating.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's like all you hear is he, him. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe it was her. Maybe she did something. You know what I'm saying? She made it
Mm-hmm.
like from Lovey Harvey. She broke up with him, so it wasn't he. He was all
Right.
right. So she
Right.
drifted away. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
And
there's definitely two sides. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that's all
Mm-hmm.
we get, especially with Megan Good. Like he divorced her. And
Right.
for me, in my opinion, I didn't really think they, even though they made it to 10 years, that was cool. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? But in my opinion, I didn't think they would never was gonna last because these are completely separate people from different I guess I want to say communities, but I guess like they come from different community social spaces.
Right.
Like
Right.
he's more traditional, she's more modern. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So I'm trying to get at like for him, he needs to date like a traditional woman, and she is more good with a rapper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
I just
definitely. Because her new boyfriend looks crazy compared to Devon Franklin. Like
yeah,
he
you know
literally
what I'm
looks like,
saying?
and I'm like, you left a whole upstanding man, and now you out here. Okay, all
For a
right.
rapper.
I'm like, I think when you talk about that, like the only thing the only thing I can think of honestly is that it's a level of feminism where women have become or have come to the mindset that men are almost disposable. I wasn't
Yeah.
raised to dispose of a man. I was raised to get married at some point in my life.
Right.
My mother was married 3 times. Okay. And
Okay.
so, and she was, older, because she had me when she was 39. So she was born in
Okay.
25. So you can do all the math with that. So, but she
Right.
was married 3 times. She married at 19, did not like her husband, got divorced. My grandmother made her come back home. Then she married my father, and they stayed married until my father died. And then after my father died, then she remarried to my stepfather, and then my mom died. So my stepfather's still alive. Um, and in the case of my mom and my dad, yeah, their marriage was not the perfect marriage. There was, arguing, fighting, all of that. But my mother, women are very different now than women were back then. And I think the one thing I can say is that women, the character of women has changed. Now, whether it's better or worse, it's not for me to say. But, like, for example, with my father passing, my mother had never said anything bad about him at all. Okay. Like literally, it was almost like she had revisionist history where he was concerned. Like she literally, well, Bill is dead and may he rest in peace. But she didn't go around talking about he was this, he was that, he wasn't no good. She didn't say any of that. My father was married 3 times. So my brothers, my brother and my sister, because I have a sister too, my brother and my oldest brother and my sister have the same mom. And then my brother who passed away, it was just him and his mom and my dad. And then I was my mother's only child. So there were 3 wives, and all 3 wives got along. 2 of them lived next door to each other. The first 2 wives lived next door to each other for years. And
Wow.
when we would come to visit, my mother got along with them very well. Like when my father was sick and dying, his first wife wanted to come and see him. My mother was like, sure, no problem, come. So she came to visit, came over to the house a few times. I mean, she stayed at a hotel, but she came over several times. Like she came for like a week. I was like several days. It was a long time ago because he died in 76. But as I recall, she came several times to see him before he died. And women now would never even consider being that, you know, in cooperation with each other regarding one man. Okay.
Right.
The way women are now, it's just, but the marriages had something to do with that as well because he married each one of them. So all of them were his
Yeah.
wives. It's
Right.
not baby mama situation. These were all his
Right.
wives. So they
Right.
all, as wives, got along and respected each other. They were fine with me. My mother loved my siblings, so it was a totally different situation. And I think the character of women have changed to the point that women now couldn't even fathom acting that way.
Yeah.
Because they think like that's being disrespectful, or you're being a pick me, or you're being, whatever you want to call it. But the reality is, it is a complicated situation of a group of people who have intertwined histories, and how do you move in that to be successful and to be positive versus constant drama like you on television. And I
Right.
think people fall into the drama. They like that stuff. But yeah, the three of them got along very well. So I get along with my ex-wife, I mean my ex-husband's wife. You know, she and I are very cordial. We're very amicable. But that was the example that I was raised with. So I didn't want to have all that drama. We started off that way. We got better as things went on. But
Right.
so women have changed, I guess is what I'm really trying to say. And um, because I'm not really understanding the conversations that women had with each other during the Gen X and millennial generations, I don't know exactly what all that is. All I know is that the result looks chaotic.
Very. It
That's
is.
all I can say. Like, you know what I mean? Because I didn't have a Gen X mother telling me any of that stuff.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah.
what Gen X mothers told their daughters. I don't know what millennial mothers have told their daughters. All I see is a bunch of chaos.
Yeah.
That's all I can
And
say.
yeah, and it's like, and then it's like or my generation of women, like they feel like they have the same options as these celebrity women, and
Right.
they, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like, you have to
Yeah.
understand these people live completely lives as you, completely.
Exactly. Right.
Fresh with
That's
the
kind of weird
money.
too. Yeah. That's kind of weird too. Because like, yeah, like when women talk about Lori Harvey, and like Lori Harvey's only popular because of Steve Harvey, number
Yeah,
one. Like I don't think she's created anything. She's not.
yeah,
I never heard of her other than she's Steve Harvey's stepdaughter, and
yeah,
so maybe she can be lucky and find another Michael B. Jordan. Maybe the only
yeah,
way that would be is if a man's just going to disregard how she's been moving and thinks,
yeah,
you know what I mean? But
yeah,
women out here who, oh, she's too young to get married. Yeah, but there are single mothers that are 25. So you're
yeah.
too young to be a wife, but you're old enough to be a mother.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when do we separate all of that?
I
Because
I don't.
it was like you get married, then you become a mom. So
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, I'm too young to be a wife, but I can
Yeah.
be a baby mama.
Yeah.
No, what? So that's confusing to me. I find that to be highly illogical as
Yeah.
well. So, yeah.
Yeah, because like even for me, like I won't compete with these guys, these rappers that's getting like 100,000 making a record, or he built something. He
Hmm.
like his options are going to be completely different as mine.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Just trying to let women know, like, okay, you got these female rappers, female celebrities, like they live completely different from you,
Right.
completely, and
Exactly.
have access of men that are completely way far you league. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? They live,
Exactly.
I
No,
mean,
you're
yes,
absolutely right.
yeah, like they're black, yeah, but they live completely in a different multiverse. So
Well, and they're
it's like,
selling an image. They're selling an
yeah,
image.
yeah,
That's the other thing, because
right,
when you think about it, like Beyonce, single ladies, but she's married.
yeah, the whole time,
Cardi B's married.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, um, I think isn't Nicki Minaj married?
yeah, yeah, and they always slandering black dudes, and then like they still end up married a black dude. Like, how about
Right.
that?
So it's like you're selling an image. So
Yeah,
like they're selling this image of being independent or whatever, but then they're going home to their
with a
husband.
man, yeah, to a
It's
whole
the same
man,
thing with like feminism, because white women voted, and I'm not, I'm this is facts. I'm not making this up, but white women supported uh, Trump 54% over
yeah,
Hillary Clinton. And now
Right.
we have the whole abortion situation, where it may be overturned. And now white women are up in arms. And I'm like, but you literally created this because you voted for Trump. And he told you what he was going to do.
Yeah.
And he put 3 justices on the Supreme Court while he was president
Yeah.
who are against abortion. So
Yeah.
what y'all think is going to happen? But now
Yeah.
you're mad that you didn't want Hillary Clinton, who was one of you, because you couldn't put your faith in a white woman. So y'all
Right.
voted for Trump.
Yeah.
But then you want everybody to come out and help support Roe v. Wade. And I'm like, I mean, I'm definitely, pro choice, so
Okay.
in my viewpoint, but I have no desire to, like, protest or whatever, because I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016.
Okay.
I did my job.
Right.
You see what I mean? So it's a result of people who voted for Trump. So y'all the ones are. I did
Right.
what I needed to do. I gave my vote to Hillary Clinton. I wasn't
Right.
crazy about her either, but
Right.
you know, she was better than him, and she would not have gone after Roe v. Wade. But okay, so this is y'all stuff. Deal with
Right.
it. I'm
Yeah.
not involved. That's exactly how I feel. So, so when you deal with feminism, Black women really need to be careful about
Yeah.
it. And I think the woman, I cannot pronounce her first name, last name is Ali. You know what I'm talking about? She was, she wrote a book back in the 80s about the Black man's
Oh,
guide to
Susanna.
understanding. Yes, I
Susanna.
can never. What? How do you say her name?
Charlotte's. Charlotte's. I can't think. I can't say her name. I know who you
Yeah, but you
talking
know what
about.
I'm talking about. Her last name
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
Ali.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and she talked about feminism back in the 80s. My mom kind of liked what she had to say. Because I
Right.
remember when she was out on the circuit, my mother was listening to some of her interviews, and she liked what
Yeah.
she had to say. And I think for Black women, you know, you kind of have to decide what it is, how you're trying to move here,
Yeah.
and which which camp you're in,
Yeah.
and then how are you going to work with Black men. And I think it has to almost be basic foundational at this point, because it feels like there's so much disconnection that I don't even
Yeah.
know how you get Black men and women collectively, I mean,
Yeah.
not in,
Right.
collectively, because I don't feel that way, but I just see it. But I don't know how you would get Black men and women back together to increase our statistics, or to make our statistics better, moving in the direction of having, like, an opportunity to have more Black nuclear families. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that, because I feel like there's a lot of damage that's been done on both sides, unfortunately. And at some point, you got to call a truce. And I don't
Yeah.
know what that looks like, you know?
I mean, I see what it looks like right now. See how these
Mhm.
prices going, because America's like showing that America's not for single people. It's like it's built for families. I'm like, either you stay
Yeah,
in America, get a family, or you get out. You know what I'm saying?
right.
I'm
That's,
just saying. It's
yeah, that's
literally
true.
showing that it's built for families.
Right.
This is a family only country. You know what I'm
Yeah, it makes
saying?
it easier. Yeah, I mean, families are more supportive, and that even goes for gay families.
Yeah.
Because I've known gay couples to raise children, and so when I mean, we're talking about obviously the heterosexual world, but when we talk about families, I do like to include all families, because families move communities.
Yeah.
Individuals do not move communities.
Right.
So to the extent of gay people being able to get married, you know have your family, move forward, be part of the school district, be part of PTA. I mean, those are the things that move a community forward, especially once you have children. you know and I think there's such a disconnect with all of that for younger Black people. Like, I think in the group there was a Black woman who, I want to say it was this group, who was talking about the fact that she had 6 children with 6 different men, and how much money she was getting from each man, and how that was a better deal than to have 6 children with one man. Like, she had no concept of family, no concept of legacy, no concept of the man, like that whole unit, the formation, the found. She had none of that in her mindset. It was like, I can get this much money from this man, this much from this man, and so if I split it all up, then I get this much money. And I'm like,
Man,
wow.
wowzers. Wow. Was this
Right.
like coming from a white woman? It probably was like, was this a video?
No, yeah, it was a video. And it was I don't know if it was this group. I think it was a TikTok. I saw it on
Okay.
Facebook though. I think it
Okay.
was a TikTok that someone, and it was either this group or another group that I'm in, where she kind of broke it all down and
Uh,
justified it, and I'm like, wow. So the family unit never occurred to you at all,
right. Man.
not at all,
Wow. Wow.
right?
Wow.
And so
Wow.
that thinking is weird to
Very
me,
weird.
you
Yeah.
know. But that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with mindset, and I don't know how you ultimately fix that for us. But it's going to be to our demise if we don't get it together. I can say
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it's definitely to our demise.
Right.
Um, and I really think that women, um, well, men and women need to really consider how they're moving. And what I mean by that is how you're moving through life, how you're navigating
Yeah.
life, um, better, because it like I said before, it seems very chaotic. And when you look at like what you were saying about the economy and everything, that's absolutely true. And the way these prices are and all of that, it does kind of behoove you to work with people and combine resources and things like that. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that, from a financial, legal standpoint and everything when you think about marriage, obviously. But in a best case scenario, that would work better than being out here single by yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this stuff is insane. The price of gas alone, you know.
Yeah. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's the price of gas in your state right now?
Over $5.
$5? Yeah, I think we
It's
just hit
over
five.
$5. Yeah. Where do you,
Right.
I'm in Ohio. Where are you?
I'm in Georgia.
Okay.
So, like if it's like five, like just over five over there, we just got there.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe yesterday, I've been through, the highways, saw the gas prices. We was at four, we went from 3 to 4 to 5. But whoa, whoa. And it's whew,
Yeah.
and yeah, and the way things moving with like, so you think my last question would be like, do you think women, when it comes to single women and how they raise children, because like
Mm-hmm.
another friend of mine was talking about single women are raising their boys to be servants, and their
Son
yeah,
husbands. Yeah.
yeah. That ooh, give me a response on that. Like that's
Well, let me say this. Okay, so my
my
grandmother,
policies.
what'd you say now?
I said they treating them like a life insurance policy.
Yeah, yeah, son husbands. That's what Kevin Samuels called that, son husbands,
Yeah,
on one of his videos. But my thing is, I think women. So here's the thing for me. I'll just say it based on my own opinion and not just what I observe. Women who have sons, in my opinion, have an obligation to help them learn how to be a man.
right.
And that used to be the case. in many instances once upon a time, because as an example, and this was a normal thing, um, for many families. My grandfather, my mother's father, died when my mother was 6, and she had 4 brothers. Okay, so my grandmother was a widow with 4 sons, and so she had to raise them, um, with help, throughout or whatever. But essentially, she was raising them as a single mother. You know, and so my one uncle died in a car crash. The other 3 all went to the service, all had jobs, all got married. 2 of them had children. None of them went to jail. None of them had any of that going on. Okay. And she had 8 children, my grandmother. So there were 8 of them total. Fast forward now, and you see what the result is out here. Okay. And
Yeah.
so women, once again, have changed, because you have to respect manhood to help your son move as a man.
Right.
Okay. And so my grandmother did respect manhood, clearly, because my uncles did not, and whatever issues they may have had because my grandfather wasn't there and stuff like that, like the intricacies of that, I don't know. But in terms of just their lives, they all, like I said, all got married, all had jobs, no jail time, 2 of them had children, the typical how you move through life as men. And so I feel like now what I'm seeing is women don't have enough respect for men to help their sons move like men. And so when you have these son husbands, I'm like, you're raising your son to be with you for the rest of your life. You're not raising him to be a husband for somebody else. Like you're
Yeah.
raising him, like I feel like a lot of single mothers, what it seems anyway, what I observe, they're raising their children for themselves, not for the world. You know,
Right.
it's like, let me just have it. I'm having this baby, so I'm gonna, do whatever, and but no idea of, okay, I'm raising this child to be part of society, to be a productive member of society, and to potentially be a spouse to someone at some point. Like none of that seems to be part of the mindset based
Right.
on the results of people's childhood and how they move in adulthood. So, like the son husband, for example, there should never be a son husband. Women should not be raising their sons to be with them. You raise your son to go out into the world to be a man in the world. And if you can't teach him, then find others around, if his dad's not around, to help him. But you don't like
If you
sabotage him,
can.
you know.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's a lot of sabotaging and a lot of egocentrism with a lot of parents nowadays. Like they're not thinking about society, they're just thinking about whatever in their family that works, you know.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's values. Values have changed, and I don't know how you fix that either, to be honest with you. But I
Yeah.
just find it astonishing in a bad way that there's a concept called son husbands and that women do that to their
Yeah.
sons. Yeah,
Yeah.
so as my daughter comes out here and starts dating and everything, I mean that's something that she will have to consider in terms of who she meets, because I want her to obviously have a good outcome. um But if you're trying to date a guy whose mother made him a son husband, how does that even work?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, because he's gonna have to, produce a child too. I mean, because then your lineage just dies out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, whoop, you know
exactly.
what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yep.
And then most of these women get jealous when their sons start looking at other women. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who's her? Who's this? You know what I'm saying?
Right. I
Like,
don't understand that either.
don't understand that either too. And then they'll raise their daughters to be independent. Like, well, she's got her husband, but you, son, you're mine. I was like, whoa.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's very interesting out here. I think ultimately, I think there's a lot of trauma that people have experienced at some level, and I hope people really, because Kevin Samuels used to talk about that also, about the fact that people need to go to therapy and heal,
yeah,
and then graduate from therapy so that they can have better outcomes in their life. And I totally believe that,
yeah,
100%. When he said that, I was like, wow, that says a lot. And the more I watched his show, the more I saw what he was saying. And I totally agree that people really need to heal from their childhood traumas, and so they can have better outcomes, because the mindsets are so, and I just want us to do better and be better. When I miss old school Black people,
yeah,
Big Mama, you know, my mother wasn't like I would call her a big mama, but the wisdom that older Black women used to impart, like I miss that so much. And I guess that's kind of where I sit for myself. I try to anyway, especially when my daughters are concerned, because it's one thing to be beautiful and young and whatever, but if you don't have anything going on up here, and
yeah,
you don't have a conversation, and you don't have any understanding of a foundation for yourself, like your value system and everything, you just out here, you know, in the
yeah,
wind.
yeah,
Like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, you go whichever way the wind blows, that's the way I'm going.
yeah.
So yeah. And I think I got a lot of that from my mom being an older woman and not wanting to sabotage me. I think the sabotaging is very interesting, and I think that is something that's much more prevalent now than it used to be. I think there's always been there. It's not like, parents before didn't ever do it, but I think it's very prevalent now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So I don't
Rebecca.
know.
Okay.
I
Well,
feel like I
Rebecca.
talked a lot. I'm sorry, Byron.
No, that was great. This is awesome. We gotta do it. We gotta do more of these.
Okay. Because I
We
just feel
gotta
like
do.
I was just like,
Yeah.
whoop, 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 and you were like, I'm trying to talk and she won't let me talk. So I'm sorry.
No, like I like it. I mean, I like
Okay.
it. We gotta do more of these. Are you on anywhere in the social media, or you just on Facebook,
I'm
or
just
you
on
on?
Facebook and Instagram. That's it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, all right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you, Rebecca, for this interview, guys. You're definitely gonna get more from Rebecca because there's a lot of socially awkward people in dating right now, and
Mm-hmm.
there's so many conversations that needs to be broken down and discussed. So, guys, make sure you subscribe and like this YouTube channel. Until next time, guys, be amazing. We out.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you so much, Byron. I
Bye.
appreciate it. Bye.
See ya.